All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Overshot, a paintball podcast. Before we get started with our amazing guest, I have to tell you guys about Dizana Sports, makers of the SF joggers and the Grind Air gloves. We just got team jerseys and joggers. You see Waldo rocking it right now. You can go to DizanaSports.com right now and I think order one of your own. And if you do that, use the code Overshot. You'll get 10% off your entire order. And also, we broke this news on our last episode, but we have a new partnership on this show with Volcano USA. They make those cool new bags you've seen people been rocking around, Nick Sloviak and whatnot. So they got cool colors. Go check them out. And if you use code Overshot10 when you check out there, you'll get 10% off. And yeah, definitely check them out. They're a new company, so we love that they've helped us, so we're trying to help them. So go over there, get yourself a bag. I think they have some other new products coming out soon too, so definitely check them out. But without further ado, I cannot wait to get to our guest, someone who I can definitely call a friend. I have a cool story about the first time we met that we're going to talk about. I have a lot I want to get into it, but Julian Maliszewski, I mean, storied family. He's got so much to say. So, man, Jules, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so stoked to be on this podcast for sure.
Yeah, dude, there's so much I want to get into, but we always started off the car way because I love to hear how people found this game. But I mean, for you, it's going to be kind of different. I mean, you're going to be yours is not going to be a birthday party. So, at what age were you allowed to start playing? I guess is the question I should ask.
I think when I probably first started, it was 6 years old, something like that. Back when JT was still in the motocross game, I remember having a blue JT motocross chest protector, which was obviously the front, back, the side pads, and I had this old ghillie mesh T-shirt type thing I could put over top of it. And yeah, I was running around a little kid with a hammer. Not many people know what the hammer pump is, but I had a hammer pump and was running around with that. And at our original field in Bowley's Quarters, Maryland, that was one of my first experiences playing paintball.
That's so crazy. You're so young. So like, what would I don't know, because your story is probably so crazy. It's like, what kind of happened? Like, I guess you were just kind of palling around with your family, but so like, did you play tournaments first? Did you play like rec play first? Was it scenarios?
So scenario wasn't something that was around at that point in time. It was really the old school 10-man style game that was highlighted in push and everything like that. One of my first memories, our original field and stores were Maryland Paintball. Beyond us and Tom Cole, I think we were some of the first fields and everything in Maryland. And I remember, again, one of my first introductions to the game was having all these different guys stay at the house, because that's how paintball originally started. You would have these big 10-man practices, and everyone was in their own different location. And Image was one of the original teams that, well, obviously not original teams, but when they were at their heyday, they were centrally located in the Maryland Mid-Atlantic area, even though there were other fly-in guys. We would have giant woods ball practices at our field, and we'd have multiple teams. I've had guys from the Ironmen lockout stay at my field back in the heyday, and they would have these 3, 4, 5-man teams, and we would play all the fields, and it was a big community. So I got to grow up around a lot of those guys. So when I got to watch Push, Sunday Driver, some of those original Monkey with the Gun, Pat Spoor, his videos, I lived that. And I just got to be a little ankle biter around all those guys. And it was amazing. And that probably led the way for me having that old school mentality, which obviously you guys both know it definitely streams out in my play, both on and off the field. So that was my first introduction to the game. And I played all the way through high school. I took a little hiatus a year or two into college. I started playing college lacrosse, but then lacrosse kind of started to fade out of my life. And there was that always battle between playing lacrosse, playing paintball. Right. And I actually took a break and made my own way in playing indoor lacrosse for a little bit, but it's in my blood, and I really love the game, the community, everything that's brought from it.
Yeah, man. Your story is just like so crazy because like you're just like a kid palling around with like image guys. Like it can't be understated how freaking cool that is. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said. So what was like the biggest thing that you could, or like what point did you realize where you're like, holy shit, like Ronnie Squires or whatever is staying at my house or some dude like that? Like what was the point where you're like, holy shit, like I'm a part of something that's kind of big right here.
You know, I think the biggest thing for me is, and this may upset some people. I mean, I consider my dad the MJ of paintball. And that's something that gets stressed and pushed in Sunday drivers. But, you know, I believe it's Lemansky that says it the best is he goes, you know, my dad was the glue that held everyone together. You can't bring
Right.
in all these different people that come from all over and tie them in and then they just click. You know, when you have that one figurehead that's able to bring these guys together, get them to buy in and do the thing, that's what it's about. And I've been under my dad's tutelage for quite some time. And I mean, he was a great player. I remember when I was in fifth grade, there was a game at World Cup. They're playing the All Americans on the hyperball field. And there was, I don't know, some kind of chaos that happens. But, you know, my dad ends up shooting the last one or two guys, runs down the field, grabs the flag, hangs it. There's all kinds of chaos and calamity. And this is when Image was within their first 1 or 2 years of being pro, going against his old team because the All A's had a great organization, but they brought in, you know, my dad, my uncle Richie, my uncle Greg. And I don't know if at that point in time, Greg was on Image or was still with the All A's, but there was a point in time in which that was what happened. You know, Image was
Right.
an amateur team before that they were a pro team, and the only reason why they were an amateur team is because you had to fight your way in to get pro. Because back in the old school days, you know, it's not like what it used to be about 5-6 years ago where you could pay to be pro. Like you know, we're like, hey, I'm pro, and the old heads would go, no, 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 you're not pro, you got to work your way in.
Right. It doesn't work
And
like that, kid.
exactly. So they had to fight their way in, and they, you know, fought their way in and made it happen. And they definitely upset a lot of people along the way. But that's, you know, perks of being good and thorn in someone's side is, you know, you got to fight for your right to, you know, be there.
Yeah, cool. So I know we're kind of going to jump around a minute right now, but something I really wanted to talk to you about, as we were talking this before you went on, is your lacrosse career. Because I think as someone who's played multiple sports, there's a lot of things you can carry, like just carry over. Like most things you find are the same, you know, the dedication, the time, and the effort. I see you. I
Hmm.
mean, if you don't follow Jules on Instagram, you definitely should because he's always posting pictures of you getting after it, which I love. But just because like we have a lot of young listeners, maybe give us some advice because you've traveled multiple sports and you'd be like, listen, man, dedication is maybe so important. Maybe like kind of touch on that a little bit if you could for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just in all collegiate sports, I played. In terms of my lacrosse career, I played lacrosse all the way until they took the baseball off the tee, and then that just didn't work for me. And I played Division III lacrosse for Cabrini College, freshman, sophomore year. I got cut going into my junior year, and at that point, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. So I started playing indoor. I went, I said Cabrini College, which is right outside Philly, and at that point in time, the USA development team for indoor lacrosse was pseudo based in Philly. So started playing with them and started playing indoor, and then that led to me playing for the USA World Team for a brief bit. When I graduated college, I lived in British Columbia, I lived in Alberta, upstate New York, Ontario, and I was paid to be a face-off guy and an enforcer, just like what you would see in hockey.
Yeah.
And that was something that for me, I was able to make my own way. And at my, you know, younger thoughts, you know, I could have probably progressed in paintball a lot sooner than what I had, but that was an endeavor that I was able to take from my own. And that
Right.
was entirely me. And I was able to make a career for that. And I traveled the world for 5 years. I played international tournaments. I went to Prague. I,
That's so
I've
cool.
been I've been everywhere just in playing lacrosse. And there's other people that did that at my age and younger playing paintball. But this was something that was me. And I didn't come back to paintball for a little bit. Granted, we own a field, Route 40 Paintball Park in White Marsh, and I, was always there. I always had a gun in my hand, so paintball never really left my life. But in terms of, making it my own, as I said,
Mhm.
that was me. And I really embraced it and I loved it. And there's an art to being an enforcer, to fighting people, to realize how you need to hold someone's jersey a certain way and everything like that, and deliver punches and how to hold your chin, and you know everything like that. So just as they say in college recruiting, play multiple sports. And that's the one thing that kind of sucks about the club game for all these other sports is they want to have one sport played year round, and then you become one-sided.
Right.
As we all know, when we grew up, everything was seasonal. And every once in a while, when you were younger in the summer, you went to camps. You didn't have these
Right.
teams that you had to pay on and all this stuff and spend way too much money and spend all your weekends away. Like kids can't be kids anymore, and that's the thing that sucks. I have a daughter that's getting ready to be 4, and the one thing I want her to do is play multiple sports. I mean, she's really big. We do it with my wife. We do CrossFit a lot, so she's in a little CrossFit Kids program. She's learning how to move her body and work with her body in different ways. She's going to be tall. My wife is taller than I, only by a few inches, but obviously, being 5'10", 5'11", like here we go for volleyball. I used to be
Yeah.
I was a state record, setter for volleyball. So I can't wait to, feed her the ball and watch her smack it into people's faces. It's great. The perks about volleyball: when you smack a ball in someone's face, it's called a facial. When you
Yeah.
smack it into their crotch, it's called a six pack. Like there you go. Like it's just fun. Like and it's that, like, I grew up skating, snowboarding, skiing, everything. I want to take her to the mountains. I want to play on the beach. I want to do everything with them. And that's how everyone should be. You should be able to do everything and not just be pigeonholed into one sport, for sure.
No, dude, I totally agree. Like I talk about this all the time. I feel like the old man, but like I remember growing up when I was a kid. So like we had a basketball hoop on the corner house. Literally, it didn't matter what day it was or what we're gonna do. If you were down to chill after school, you put your shit in your house. You went out, you met by the basketball hoop, and it's like, all right, we got 10. Are we playing 5-on-5 football? Are we playing some hoop? Like, what are we
Yep.
doing? But like, I don't like. I drive down my street now, ghost town. No
Hmm.
kids outside. No one's playing nothing. And I think that
Hmm.
definitely says a lot for like the younger generation. They're not testing themselves in multiple sports. They're not. They're
Agreed.
just
And
not.
it all translates. It all translates. And that was one of the things, like, especially like skateboarding and stuff like that. Like, with a lot of these sports, everyone is, just going forward and backwards. There's not a whole lot of lateral movement. And you get that in really all sports.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously in paintball, we're doing the lateral movement, but unless you're just doing that one thing and operating in that same stance, you don't have the diversity to move in the ways in which you are. So I completely agree with you in that facet, for sure.
Oh yeah, because people don't understand how important that kind of stuff, that lateral movement is, and footwork, and like when you're trying to run to the corner and sidestep, you're not stepping on your toes or this, that, and the other thing, or clicking your heels. Like your movements are explosive and decisive, and each step is important.
Agreed. And that's not stuff that you can do on a ladder or doing cone drills. Like it's all,
Yeah.
I mean, those drills are certainly beneficial, for sport specific activities. But at the same point in time, like we're saying it there, kids need to be kids and doing kid activities. Like you got to run around and, beat each other up and do these different things and just, have fun. And that's, I
Yeah.
think, what one thing that gets, beat up on kids is the fun gets lost. And
Hmm.
that's why kids get burned out on stuff.
Oh hell yeah! Like if you've never ran so fast during tag, you ran into a tree and decapitated yourself. You haven't lived life.
I mean, I remember it, just to take that in. I remember when I was younger playing at some like tennis camp, like during the day, like doing same thing, playing tag, and I tried to hide behind this one thing, and it was like some old like pseudo like water tower type thing, you know. Duck behind too close of a corner, like scrape my head, and obviously head wounds bleed. Next thing I'm a 5, 6 year old kid bleeding from the head, and no idea what's going on, and it's just stupid gong show stuff that no one has any ideas about, but that's what makes it fun, having those experiences.
No, 100%, 100%. So something else I wanted to is like because you were saying you would traverse like the lacrosse like sport athlete. So how hard were you getting after it back then? Like you had
It,
to have been just like pumped, especially as an enforcer. You had to have been just. Mm.
well, so similar to hockey, when you're gonna go like in terms of enforcer, like you got sent out if someone got done dirty, you got the tap on your shoulder and you're like, go get them,
Yeah,
or
I'm a big hockey guy. For those that don't know, the enforcer is like your job is to protect the pretty guys and the high money guys and the flashy guys.
Yep. And then so for the video, because I don't know if it will do it, but this nose is just a party trick. It goes left, right, and just sits flat that way. And being a face-off guy, I was really good at facing off. And when it's done proper, you'd go out for the face-off, and everyone knows. And I said I had a career in Canada, so look at the ref and go, "We're fighting." And he goes, "Well, he does not even going to drop a ball. That's just something you're going to roll an ankle on." He goes, "All right, blow the whistle, helmet, gloves, your vacuum cleaners come through, clean it up, and then off you go." And there was I think his first name was Drew Candy. Played. He was, I believe, a Canadian. And the trick is obviously I'm a right-hander, so that's where I'm going to drive all my power from. When you would grab a guy by the jersey, you'd actually grab him with an underhand and then turn. So me looking at the guy, I'm looking at his right shoulder. I'm going to grab like right in this area, but with an underhand and turn, because then that locks up the punch hand, and then you pull it down this way. You put your chin to your chest, and you don't need to aim at that point because you just know exactly where your hand is, and just going. And one of my biggest fights was in Canada at our home field, and it was that exact setup and everything. And I remember I was playing for St. Catharines at the time, and I remember it was my third or fourth punch, and I just felt my hand go into his face, and not like a rebound, but just it sunk.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay.
his
And
face
that
like
was
absorbed your hand.
exactly. And that was, when you have that experience, like there's, guys getting bar fights and stuff like that. But when it gets set up and you've got a crowd around you and your boys are banging the sticks on the boards, it's just, it's something different. And I remember I had chin to my chest, and when he actually finally landed a punch, it was all in my head. And I was, the Mike Tyson quote, everyone knows, where they stand until they get punched in the face. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's it. And I took my chin right up, and that's when I just started delivering it. And then when, I knocked him out and I'm holding by the jersey, and it's just that barbaric moment of just being like, I got it. It's just,
You let go, he just falls.
exactly. My pads ripped. I let him go and just walked to the bench. I was like, nah, I'm done, and that's why I love some of the movies like Goon,
Yeah.
Goon 2. But I mean, Goon is just such a great movie. But yeah, I got to live that
love
life
Goon.
for a little bit, and I was an American, and they would just literally just say that's me because I'm the transplant in Canada going against Canadians, natives, everything like that, and just you're just you're a white boy, stuff like that. I'm like, that's fine. I'm the white boy with the fist, meet the
Yeah.
fist.
The Canadians are too nice. They needed you to be the enforcer, bro.
Oh no, those guys know exactly what they're doing too. But the perks is when those guys are there to score goals and have that solid defense. You always got to bring that guy in. So wherever you find them, you bring them in. So.
hell yeah. So you were playing lacrosse. So like, what brought you back into playing? I guess we'll say more tournament ball. And we'll move into like, I guess, would you come back? Did you come back playing with Image? Like, how did that go about?
So I think. Whew, I think that was probably my first real get back into paintball was the very first ICC. We had an opportunity to do it. I wasn't playing too much, but as I said, in terms of running the paintball field, always had a gun in my hand. That was the event that really brought me back into the sport. The guys I was fortunate enough to play with. The Image guys, some of the just, Earl Aquaviva, Derek Farrell, Steve Lador, all those guys. We I battled against those guys when they were originally doing 10-man, when they were a twisted image.
Mhm.
There was about 5 guys out of our Route 40 field and another field just north of us. Um, Robin Hood Paintball, and they had a conglomerate of guys that basically made about 12, 13 dudes. And I was a part of a 5/10 man team, and we were the whipping boys. So it was a rough experience, but a great experience. And
That's how you get better,
when
man.
exactly, exactly. So, my dad and his infamous style of coaching, he'd be out there with a Tippmann cranked up. If you didn't have a clock on you, if you didn't have a watch on you, he sent you home. You had to come back with a watch. If you didn't have batteries, you went down to Rofo. You had to get your batteries. Like
Yeah.
if you didn't come to play, you weren't playing. Simple as that. There wasn't, hey, can I borrow this, borrow that? And as the
I like
games were
that.
going, he'd come up right behind you with his tip and go, "What's the G count?" Bang. If you didn't know it right then and there, boom, you got it right in the back. If you're in the snake with your head down, you should have been hearing everything that was going on. If you didn't know, he drilled you in the back, and then you were still out. And then
Stop
everyone's
it.
had
You're
to
giving
figure it
Waldo
out.
ideas. I'm going to get lit up tomorrow at practice. Thanks a lot, Jules.
And now you know exactly why I'm a jerk
Dude,
when I'm
I
on the
love
field.
it.
This is exactly why I am the way I am. Like, you grow up a certain way, you grow up in the meat grinder, like, pressure makes diamonds. And that's why,
Yeah.
all the guys that come out of that image camp, they went, when image is the 10-man team, when they finally folded, everyone went and became superstars on all these teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a reason for it. You were just trained a lot harder. And that's where I have to give the ultimate credit to my dad, because I grew up under one of the best people out there, and that's maybe the person and player I am today. Even with all my shortcomings, I still have to give credit where credit's due, 100%.
Yeah, no, your camp was amazing. Like so good, so many good players. So the second ICC you played with them, was that the one where you guys took second place? Right?
It's actually the third one.
Third
So
one.
we
So I'm skipping
we
around a little.
yeah, no worries, because the fourth one was the one that got canceled, correct?
Well, there was last year because last year you played with GZ, right?
No, no, no. I played with
No,
I played
last
with
year he
Image.
got second, dude. Come on, I'm
Okay.
taking over the show. I'm taking over the show. You don't know what the fuck's going on.
I even had to
I'm
play
taking
against you.
over.
That was the CEP game when it was like the false start or something like that. It's all kinds of shenanigans.
Dude, I knew what was good, dude. I'm like, yo, they're coming. They're gonna be in the 50s. Like, we got to go and get some. And these CP dudes are like, I don't know, man. Maybe they didn't believe me. I tried, man. I tried my best. We caught a couple. We caught a couple coming at us at the end. But yeah, dude, second place, last ICC, man, to Dynasty. I mean, if people haven't seen that little PV Nation video, your uncle had a really good speech in that. So everybody go in there. Go to that YouTube video on PV Nation and just listen to it. Unfortunately, they got second, but I mean, kind of. I know we were jumping towards that, but I actually wanted to ask something. So that original ICC, there was Image, and then there was Image 95. Now, I heard originally Image wasn't playing it, and then they heard people were using the Image 95 name, and then you guys were like, well, we got to put in the team because we're the real Image. Or, I mean, that's kind of how I heard the story.
So originally, when there was the talk of the ICC event, obviously Image is just one of those classic names, and they wanted to have the team. And the Image roster obviously is such a vast group of players. So this is straight from Turtle's mouth, and I believe him. He's one of my great friends, truly, as I've gotten older too. There was a phone call in which Turtle's talking to my dad and saying, "Hey, we're gonna put a team in, da da da," and I didn't know about this call or anything like that. So he originally had said no, and then the event started getting some heat coming into it. So then my dad decided to then put a team in later on down the road or something along those lines. And there wasn't any animosity towards it or anything like that. So they were an old school group of Image guys, and then we were more of a, not to say modern, but a lot of the guys out of the Route 40 area, Will Berghoff, Bergie, as everyone knows him, was also part of that, brought in some great guys as well. It was a smaller event, but that was the spearheaded event to get into everything. So that's really just kind of how it happened. Apparently, we would have been with the Image 95 guys in terms of my dad and myself, but
Mm.
you know, it is how it is. There wasn't anything, negative about it. It was kind of like late to the game, and here we go. Again, still a great experience. And then the second year was the first rendition of actually bringing back the Twisted Image, which later became that when the PSP had the Pro Am division, that 10-man Image team, which was truly that same Twisted Image team that became pro with all those guys, minus a few, adding a few others. And then year 3 was a little bit more of a refined group. And then that was the team that took second to Dynasty in Event 3.
Yeah, year 2 was my first year, and I was like starstruck walking around there. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trip. It really is a trip. That is one of the best events that paved the way for, I believe, what is really what you would see in the ICPL right now. Because you got to bring all these guys out of the woodwork, and have that brotherhood and bringing everything back. And that's really what brings the game that, we grew up in playing. With a lot of the X ball stuff, it's truly a different game, but there are players that can transcend both styles of play. But more so, you're not going to get the guys that are in the 10-man game to go play X ball. It's a different game for a lot of the older heads, and those that are able to do both are able to do both successfully, and that's, I think, where that falls.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't see a lot of X ball guys like transferring over. Like, yeah, you can say Dynasty, but like when we were talking this when Ryan was on our show, that like you can't compare them to that because they've like it doesn't matter, bro. If they're not even shooting guns and you guys are throwing the ball, like Dynasty's going to be good, man. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's paintball related in any way, they're going to fucking be good. But like a lot of those other teams, just like they don't play it, like for whatever reason, then doesn't whatever. Maybe skills don't transfer, but.
Yeah. I mean, no, I agreed. One of the teams I play with, I even hit up everyone. I was like, I'm doing a lot of name dropping today. So one of the teams I play X ball with is Arsenal B team, and there's guys on the Image team that I'm with and everything like that. And so we're at practice at NR last Sunday, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're out here?" Blah, blah. I'm like, "This is paintball." I'm like, "You just make it easier. I have to do this, and the gun shoots a lot faster." I mean, that's really it. When it comes down to it, it's 5-on-5. My favorite format truly is 7-man because I feel like that's the best of both worlds. 5-man is as much of a team game as it is. It's still very individual. You lose 2 guys on one side and boom, there's the point.
Yeah, game's over.
Exactly. 10-man, you've got, as everyone says, you've got 6 to 8 really good guys, and you got 2 fishes out there. So even if you got 10,
7 good guys, 3 bums. That's why 7-man's the best. That's how I look at it.
I mean, agreed. And that's the thing. Like when you got that 7-man game, like you needed to have really good 7 guys. You really couldn't, have a fish out there. It's not going to work. And I think that's what really helped a lot of the 10-man teams become successful 7-man teams, because all of a sudden you got to trim the fat, and then just, it is what it is.
Exactly. So tell me a little bit more, like, what will it take second place at ICC? I mean, arguably, it's like the biggest tournament around. There were 70-something teams. Like, I would say it's harder to place at that event than it is at any NXL event. So, granted, I'm sure, like, dude, if I were there, I would have been pissed I lost too. But after the dust settled, you had to be, like, proud of your performance, at least a little.
You can't really be too angry when you lost first place to Dynasty. I mean, these are guys that are amazing paintball players. And when you see a lot of the old school videos, those Dynasty guys, do pay a lot of homage to, Image guys, my dad, my Uncle Richie, everything like that. And as John said, it was a trip. Like I'm in there looking around with a bunch of dudes, and really it was Justin, Kim, and I are the 2 young bucks with all these guys. And as Earl said, plenty of times, like those guys are such a tight knit group of friends. Like I was the little stepbrother to all those guys. I was always getting whooped on and everything like that, and I'm still that little brother of those guys. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience, and I had a really great event. Personally, I'm just going to toot my own horn for that bit. Maya's till the game, and of course, as it was shown on the video, it's
I was
like
gonna say, weren't you like the first guy dead, second guy dead?
I was the second. I was, but thanks for that. Were you there for the first or second place game? I don't think so. It was, Justin, myself, and Richie were the first three guys dead. And I love being a part of GZ, just to give that shout out here real quick, because, one of the great, became one of my truly best friends right now is Will Arroyo, and I grew up loving that dude. And my very first, Yahoo email account was Julian Rocks at Yahoo. There was something about that swagger and that bit that I loved. And, he goes, do you not think that there was a reason why you were the first three shot? And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We did a lot of killing, and, the three of us looked at each other in the dead box and went, oh, shit. And it's not to say that those dudes couldn't have pulled it out, but, you take out your snake guy, your backup snake guy, one of your great players up the middle, regardless, those are three major guns that are leaving the field. And
yeah, they played the game really smart on their part.
I mean, and when watching all the videos, like Blake Yarber gets out to that L bunker right on the side of that Dorito side, there was just a shenanigans over there.
Mm-hmm.
And, he knew exactly the shots to shoot right off the bat. And you literally see him from that angle, like gets out there, comes up, and he knows exactly where to shoot. And I remember just getting there, I'm running and gunning. I look inside because they say this, and just wham, right in the face. I'm like, where did this ball come from? And I got to see in the video exactly where it came from. So, the perk of that for me is, at least when you get to lose to someone that has a name. Like, I got shot by Blake Yarber right in the face. I didn't get shot by Johnny Jim and, his one lucky ball. I was fortunate enough to get highlighted by paintball photography. Gary Baum made a great bunker move on Thunder Horse to get us to go through, and that made one of the highlights for paintball media. And you make some great moves every once in a while, and they matter, but you never know when they get captured. And that was one of the ones that got captured, and I got to put a little feather in my cap. But there's another tournament, there's another event, there's another something. So you get to take the moments, and you got to move on after that, because it's not going to carry on after that for sure.
No, for sure. Well, like, dude, I just love the fact that people are capturing things. Like, people could say whatever they want about Ghost Sports, this, that, and the other thing, but even like what you just said, it's pretty cool to be able to like look back and see the things that we've done, because for the most part, all it is stories and memories. And at least I could look back and be like, yeah, yo, that was fucking me.
Agreed. And that's something that's great. I mean, I got a Dirter video here playing in the background just because I want to keep that vibe going right now. It's been great. I mean, as we all did, growing up, there was 720 videos, there was Dirter, there was Push, there was all the great companies that, no one really knows about. And then there's been a bunch of other companies, and the way that field has grown in terms of the videos and everything. You've got Solus Photography. Even this last practice I had, we've got one filmer, his handle's One Click Nick, and then PV Scout Photography. Like, those guys have put out great pictures, not just of ourselves with the B team, but all these other great teams that are out and about, and you get to highlight players. And a lot of those guys, the sad thing is, they put out these great pictures, but then the guys that are tagged in the pictures give no credit to those guys that do all the great work. That's
all the work.
Why,
yeah.
I said to these guys, I'm like, whatever you have, let me know. I've got my personal sites, I've got my business sites. All boats rise in high tides, and this world's way too small. Just, let alone the world in general, but the paintball world.
Right.
And I'm one of those people. It's like, you guys know, it's like, if I'm upset about something, you probably know. And sometimes I shoot myself in the foot with it, and sometimes I don't. But it's great to be a part of the sport. It's a big, crazy, dysfunctional family, especially when you get into those little inner circles. It's great when you get to, as you said, show up to ICC and like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different groups of dudes, and just hugs everywhere, and you love being a part of it. 100%.
Hell yeah, perfect. No, this is perfect. So I want to segue to the story about how we first met because I love this story. I was talking to my brother. So the first time I met Julian, this was it was the second ICPL that happened. It wasn't Chicago, it was Florida, but like not January, the one in October.
Yep.
And we're walking the fields or whatever, and I just walk up and I'm like, hey, what's up? And you have a little fanny pack on. It looked like you probably had the same shirt, I think. That's how you're dressed. And you just handed me a White Claw, like, you want this? I was like, absolutely. You go, cheers, bro. And we just started talking, and that's how we met. And I was like, yeah, I like this guy. I like this guy. We're gonna be good friends, I think.
I mean, it's again, especially when you get to be in that GZ family, it's just obviously I'm not a New York guy, but I get to always say it's my crazy New York dysfunctional family. Because if I hang around with you guys long enough, because especially playing lacrosse and all that stuff, living in upstate New York, for a bit, I can talk about garbage plates and everything like that, which I do love garbage plates. Fairport Hots, thank you so much. And I am a cheeseburger guy, not a hot dog guy for my garbage plates. I like to throw that out there. But it's great. And you never know when you're going to run back into these guys or when you're going to ever need to call on those guys for anything. But, when you make that family, it's there for a reason. And that's one thing that I have certainly felt and has been stressed with the GZ guys 100%. So I'm glad that's such a positive response, because there's some people that don't have that positive story when they first met me, for sure.
Oh, that's a shame, because I loved it. I was like, hey, just whipped out this White Claw, your fanny pack, because all like, they're gonna hate me for saying this, but all the old dudes were doing their like old dude walk, and you were kind of like me and my brother. You go, tell me what side of the field I'm playing. I'll be done in 15 minutes.
I mean, and that's kind of how it is. Like, I get dubbed as being either up the middle or a snake corner guy, which is not a problem because I'm good at it. But it's kind of like hang out over there, and the old image way is like you're on the field from sun up to sundown. And, when we go out to Chicago, we fly in at 10 something. I expect to be at the field by noon, and I don't expect to leave until it's dark. I did a podcast with LB Fowl, and it was the same thing. He said, he goes, we were out there with our flashlights. We had a quad runner, turned the lights on. You didn't leave the field until you knew every spot you needed to be in. Because
dude, half the teams don't even like draw the map anymore. Like, I barely see anyone do that. Like, I don't even know how you're supposed to. Yeah, I don't even know words. How are you supposed to know where to go and study and know all the angles if you don't even have the fucking layout on a piece of paper?
Exactly, and it's knowing who's in your bracket, how are they going to play, and
scouting.
Exactly. And even if your first game's at noon or 1 o'clock, but the teams you're playing are playing in the morning, well, guess what? You're there in the morning. You're there before they are. You're going to be on the field watching them walk the same bunkers they're getting ready to play and figuring out what they're doing, and then watching their games, knowing what they do, so on and so forth. And that's why the best teams end up still being at the top in any sport. I mean, you can even see it in the contemporary version of X-Ball. You see it in all the videos. They're like, hey, we did well, blah, blah, blah. You got an hour to rest. We got to watch these next 3 teams. Put your sunscreen on, grab your water, grab your umbrella, and here we go. For a lot of these guys, it is their job. It's what they're doing. It's what they're getting paid to do. And for those that it's not their quote unquote 9-to-5 job, they're still treating it like the job. And ultimately, whether you're getting paid for it or not, if you want to consider yourself a top level player, you need to do everything that the top level players are.
Dude, 100%. I was about to say that. It's just like, bro, it's not that hard. Look at the people that are successful at what you want to do and do what they do.
Exactly.
Do the exact same things that they do, and you will get there too at some point. So yeah, you think
100%.
Dynasty was just good on accident? No, it's because Rusty Glades is out there scouting, and Rusty Glades doesn't even play the layout, but he can name every bunker on the field because it's the way it is, man.
Agreed. And the Dynasty team that we played had for the ICC event had amazing players regardless, and that team spanned many teams over many years. You had Andy Kopchak, who was an old image guy. You had Rodney Squires,
Glenn Forrester.
There was one other guy. He was G1 for them. He was an old Avalanche guy. His name's leaving me at the Roy
Richards.
Thank you.
Yep.
Roy played with
I
them.
do my scouting.
Yep, exactly. There was, it wasn't just Dynasty guys. It was Dynasty guys and then the Dynasty family guys, and that was a different experience. Like losing the game to them and then getting hugs from everyone afterwards. You don't get to have that happen. And it was a treat. It really was. And the semis leading up to it, we had that game against All A's, and for a few of us that digs up some memories and everything like that. Loved finishing that game with Justin Kim at the end. And I remember one of the best things is, we're running low on paint, everything like that. I dive in the snake behind Justin. He's in their snake 1. I'm in the 50. And, it's vividly because I remember just had that desperation scream, like, Justin. And he says same thing back. He's like, Jules? I'm like, dude, we gotta go. Like, we gotta go. I shoot Jason in the head. Like, you get to see it in the video. Like, I drill him right in the head. And I'm so excited because I'm sitting here and, like, I could see my body shake. I'm like, I just shot him. Like, and then he gets up, hops the snake, drills Adam Gardner out of the mango, which was that half cut 40 bunker. And then one of our guys grabs the flag. I run through, shoot him like about 9 times in the throat, grab the flag falling onto it. And the one thing I know is hold on to that flag and do not let it go until you get the pull. And he's got a lot more pain on him than me. So I'm sitting there going, no, we've got the flag. Look at him, look at me. And you just learn how to argue in the old school way, and then go, yep, you're right. Image gets the pull, blah blah blah, and that puts
all we need, baby. We in.
Exactly, and those are the first few points to go through. And I remember in the semis we played the Winstons, and I'm the guy that kind of talks smack, here and there, but with the Image guys, they're the ones that forcefully humble me because I need that person over me at times, truly. And we're sitting there right before the game. They do the little, we're gonna beat these dudes, but a few other choice words, and we're like, whoa, right here. And we ended up running through down on the Mounds field, the snake side, the lower side. And funny, but sadly, I didn't realize this. I'm looking at a ref, looking at what I think is a guy left in the bunker, not realizing right over the mound is the dead box. And I'm thinking that there's a guy there. So I'm just drilling over top of this thing, not realizing I'm shooting the hell out of the dead box. And, we end up winning that game. Our one dude's got a bunch of hits on him, just from spray or whatever. They're pissed off. We get to grab the flag and hang it. And I think they said something like, we're going to shoot these bees. And you know what I mean when I'm saying that. So he, of course, is like, well, how about that? And I'm like, well, I'm going to take the flag from you as they're all erupting and hang this. And I'm like, well, there you go. And, you get to have that stuff. Like one of the dudes from Lockout tried to fight us afterwards when we smacked them up, It was a great event, and
dude, I fucking love paintball.
Me too. And the best thing is, rest in peace to him. He comes up after we literally have to, push this guy out of the pits. And because he literally sat in our pit, like was waiting for us. And it was like a 10-on-1. And he's like, what happened? Like some dude is just way too angry about we like triple bunker this dude. He stands up, shoots the 3 of us afterwards, getting covered in hits. We all somehow get pulled because it's shenanigans. And my man got done dirty a lot afterwards. So it sucks to be that dude, but you do it and you wear it. So got no love for those guys. The new version of Lockout, the old school dudes. I got great stories that I've said on some other podcasts, but we'll save that for something where I'll be less PG. But it was fun.
Dude, tell the stories. But, going back to what you were saying about ICC and shenanigans and stuff like that, man, I mean, that's kind of why I liked it. Like, I legit wasn't supposed to play. And then my boy on CP, I hopped out the car and they're like, yo, you want to play? I'm like, all right, we'll get down and play. But one of my favorite memories is not the Philly Americans, but the All Americans that Frank was playing with. something happened between them and AC Dallas. And I remember I'm just sitting there. There's like,
I know what
the
happened.
fight
I
on the
watched
mounds,
it.
the fight on the mounds field, was that what that one was?
dude, I don't know. I just know what afterwards. Frank and Spesh are on the net like, you motherfucking kids, we know what the fuck you did, blah blah blah. And I'm sitting there chilling, having my mango ICC beer. Someone brought. Shout out to the high roller kids. They brought a tent over there. They had their blow up couch. Like I was like,
It was on the hype. It was on the hyper field. I remember this.
Like I got the biggest grin. He's like, dude, this is what you love about paintball, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that's why I came. I wanted to see some old dudes like fight it out in the woods, fight it out on the hyperball, and like I'm like, this is why I came here. Like this is what's up. You know what I mean? Everybody's chilling. It's a festival, but like there's still good paintball to be played. So I mean, I didn't see what exactly happened between AC Dallas and All Americans, but I just remember that like Frank yelling at him, and I love Frank to death. So shout out to Frank. But
yep, I had not seen it myself, and there are videos in which they talk about it. So I'll leave the drama to guys that were on the field, not me speculating, because
I was on the sidelines. I could say what happened. I watched it happen.
I'll let you say that one because I'm not shooting myself in the foot off of bad news for sure. Because
that's okay. I know what I saw, so they can hate me if they want. So I don't know who it was. They didn't have. So there was a guy, he was like the insert on the snake side, took a face to wham, white, bam, hitting the goggles. And then he kind of does the walk up like he's going to walk out, right? Wipes it off, dives into the corner and starts roping people. So now the sidelines are erupting. They're blowing up like, oh my God, this side of the other thing. So the refs are kind of confused because he's like, well, he doesn't have a hit on him because they're like, so they're not really pulling him. And everybody is just going berserk. He eventually gets shot out, but like, I mean, you want to talk about yeah, words were being exchanged, and yeah, they were like fuck you, and then he's like fuck you, and yeah, it was a scene.
Nice. I did hear there was some cheating happening since you got to pave the way for that conversation. So yes, I heard there was some cheating by them, but that's how it goes sometimes. Yeah, exactly. I love the fact that there are a lot more great photographers out there, and they like to even post the videos about everyone cheating at times, which is great. I got to play against some of the cheating teams at times, so it's always fun to kind of throw some shade at times. It's like, hey, I'm not going to sit. I'm sorry.
Shout out to Solus ripping everybody apart in my league. So now
I love it.
Everybody thinks that everybody's cheating in my league and nobody else does. One team calls out this team for cheating, then they're in the next video. So shout out to Solus.
Yeah, no.
Well,
absolutely.
At least he's playing it fair. He's like, oh yeah, you're gonna call out them for cheating? Well, I'm pretty sure this is you cheating right here.
And that's where at one point it's even that, like, I get to play against one of the teams that got busted at 2 out of 4 events. I haven't seen event 4 to see if it happened with that team, but I was like, oh, okay, I got to play against some of those guys, and I even chirped. I was like, well, not in a complaining sense. I was like, well, I've seen you cheat out of 2 out of 4 videos so far, so I don't doubt that it happened at this one or that one. Even to that same extent, like at the last TSXL event, there was one dude runs down, I got shot a bunch. All of them bounced, but like one on like the side of my head here. There's a ref 3 feet away from me. I look at him do this, and he's like, "You're good." I'm like, "Okay." Keep going on, and next, the guy's like, "Hey, you're out." I'm like, "Okay, where?" And he's like, "In your head." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." So I get up, and then he's like, "Oh, flag," and I look at the dude, and I'm like, "I just asked you," and he goes. I'm like, oh, that's paintball. Like, I can't sit there and say anything because I got to go see this guy soon anyway. So, as I said on the webcast, I'm like, I'm probably older than all these guys, and I'm calling them sir and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm the guy that will definitely say something way too much and shoot myself in the foot. So I got to keep everything as kosher as possible. But it's part of the game. It is what it is. You get caught, and you got to accept it. And if you don't get caught, then it didn't happen,
Dude, the way money's on the line. Like, you could say whatever you want, like the integrity of the game, this, that, and the other thing, bro. But like, fucking money is on the line, dude. Everyone's trying to win, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, like I could care less about the purse or anything like that, um, you know, with what we won for second place at that ICC event, was pennies, but it
Covered your entry,
was,
maybe
I mean, a little bit over maybe, but
a case of paint or two.
it's not about the purse. That event is a prestigious event.
Yeah.
Forever Image will have gotten second at ICC 3 to Dynasty.
No one can ever take that from you. Yeah.
Exactly. And that was literally, you took the words out of my mouth. That's what I said to my dad, said to my wife. I'm like, I lost to Dynasty. I didn't lose to, team A, B, C. I lost to Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
And no one can ever take that away from us. And it's an amazing opportunity. As I'm watching Dynasty on this Darter video right now, got shot by none of the guys in the video, but a lot of those guys were on the field. It's awesome. It really is an amazing experience, and it's an amazing family to be a part of in terms of the whole paintball family in general.
No, it's so cool. Like I had a similar experience. Like the same year, they eliminated us from the semis, but like I also like trying to find like my way in paintball. I was like, I was pretty like fresh out of the scenario scene. I've only been playing tournaments for like about maybe 2 years at this point. I'm like, yo, am I really any good at this? Like, I'm putting a lot of time and effort. Like, I'm running and doing all this shit. And then I was like, bro, the only reason we lost is because we got eliminated by Dynasty. Like, I think I'm doing all right. Like, we made it to the semis. We won the first game. Our second game was against Dynasty. Fucking shit. Sorry, I couldn't beat them. Sorry.
Yep. For me, when you bring that up, it's, whether it's been Image or GZ, I feel like it's a curse. For me, I always end up having to face the Saber Wolves, and those guys are an amazing group of dudes. They're an amazing team. They put so much out there on the field, and every time you play them, they are giving you 110, 120% when they're coming after you. And, they're a scary team to play against, 100%. And haven't always said the nicest things about them. They all know that. I know that. But, out of that whole entire experience, I will say one of the greatest dudes I got to meet and become friends with is Brandon Mayo. And I remember coming into, I think it was the ICPL event or something like that. He was one of the guys I reached out to, and I asked, I'm like, hey, can you give me some advice, something like that? And one of the things that really kind of hit home with him was, he goes, and it wasn't necessarily directed at me, but I was like, I took what he said and put it towards me. He goes, I'm not the guy that kind of talks a lot or anything like that, but don't talk about it, be about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a stoic person that really mattered a lot to me. And that was one of the things I was like, okay, here we go.
Right.
And I don't reach out to many people for advice or thoughts or something like that. And between him and my dad, and I probably reached out to maybe one other person that I can't think of at this point in time, but that was what it was about, for sure. And just to have that ability to have that kind of communication level with some guys is amazing. I'm thankful for it, for sure.
Oh, hell yeah. So
Absolutely,
I want to make... Oh, go, Waldo, go.
All right, man. We got to come up with a little like gesture. That means so. The next thing that I want to kind of ask is, how did you end up getting picked up by GZ? I know, so because we kind of went over, you came back with Image, you were doing good at the ICC. Now, how did you end up getting picked up with GZ? Like, how did that come to fruition? I know you always said, you had, your Jules Rocks, whatever, at Yahoo and anything like that. So you always like, well, so how did that end up happening? And then kind of go into why Image isn't like an ICPL team. Like, as I know you're on Image for ICC, and ICPL you do the GZ thing.
Mm-hmm. So I became friends with Will so when I moved back from Seattle, so when I met my wife, we were living here. We moved out west, lived outside the Seattle area in 2014, 15-ish, had our daughter out there, and then moved back a few years later. And one of my first years in, when I started, kind of taking back over the paintball field and running it, I started branching back out into the paintball community because I was really trying to grow my field in the Baltimore area, everything like that, and added, Will on Facebook as a friend. And then when ICPL was coming about, for the first event, Image wasn't, they didn't really have the pro thing going on or anything like that. We didn't get the invite to go into the pro or anything. I reached out to him and said, hey man, I really want to play with you. I grew up looking under you, everything like that. And he goes, we'd love to have you. And I was supposed to play the very first Chicago event. At that point in time, about 2 weeks beforehand or something like that, the East Coast got hit by whatever that hurricane was. And literally, it was a storm through every other state, but in my one chunk of Maryland, did it turn into a tornado right through our area, ripped up telephone poles and everything like that. And that was right when I was supposed to leave. And I knew that there was no way that I was going to be able to leave Maryland at that point in time and leave my parents in the lurch, everything like that. So I was not able to play that very first event with GZ. Will was completely understanding about it, everything like that, and thankful for that in that facet. So that's how I got on GZ. I was on the team for the first event, wasn't able to make the first event, and my second event ended up being the first Florida event. We did get the invite to go as a pro team for Image. However, a lot of those guys were getting ready to start their families, everything like that. The team that we would have had for, ICC to kind of take it into the pro league, a lot of those guys are getting married, have kids, have families, and, without enough time to start everything, you can't really just, pick up and go.
Right.
So it wasn't feasible at that point in time for us to make an effort to put the name out there. I mean, it's a name that it means something. People, as you guys know, like the Image name, like it demands respect, and we didn't want to dilute the product. Truly going out there. My uncle Rich. He was with the Aftershock guys for a few years, and as I got to learn from him from different podcasts and talking, a lot of the guys on that team helped him become the player that he ultimately became to be. In a different sense, hindsight's 2020. I grew up, as I said, with my dad, and I view him as the MJ of paintball. Richie looks at Greg and Tommy as brothers. It's a different scope. I will never understand the lens that those guys view each other, because I'm not them. And he's got those allegiances to those guys, and that's where, when you do these classical events, you have this kind of conflux. You've got guys that were with one team that went with another team, and then went with this team when this team folded, and blah blah blah. And then next you've got Maryland teams such as Image 95, Bad Company, Aftershock, and it's like I wasn't even part of any of those. So it's like, well, who do you play with? It's like, well, what was the last team that I played with? And blah blah blah. Like it is what it is. So there wasn't any love lost or anything like that. It wasn't something feasible to put a quality product under the Image name. So we're not going to go out there and put some kind of half-ass team together to do that. And ultimately that's what led to me getting on GZ and building that relationship, and then staying with GZ for that experience. Obviously when we come to ICC, it's always a little bit of kind of thorn in people's side, because I'm there for all the practices, and it's like, well, hey guys, not here for this event, but it is what it is. Minus being a 10-man in a classic event or anything like that. For instance, just picking a person out, Andy Horvath plays with Mutiny and everything like that. Comes to ICC, plays with Farside. Everyone has their, not allegiances, but just how stuff goes.
Right.
That's the only experience I can kind of pull from in that facet. We had Harrison Fry play with us the first Florida event, and I believe that he played the first Chicago event.
Yeah.
And then when we had the beginning of this year, he's on Infamous. And not 2 months prior was he a teammate of mine.
Right. I'm so closet mad at Will because I'm huge into X-Ball. I follow him hardcore, and I was like, bro, you didn't tell me? You couldn't have told me? I wouldn't have told anybody.
But hey, sometimes just how it is. Like there's things that people have, and that you got to keep some things close to the vest. 100%.
Yeah. No, for sure. I can't blame him at all, but still, I was like, oh,
I mean,
man,
dude, Vegas is playing on adrenaline, dude. Like, I mean, sometimes it's just how things work, man. You know what I mean? And pop out to Vegas, dude. I mean, but it's kind of crazy coming from the same airport. You got some guys, from Islip Airport. Hey, that dude's a massive blacker. That dude's GZ, and Vegas is over there on adrenaline. And it's like, dude, we couldn't have had a Long Island team, but sometimes that's just not how it works. You know what I mean?
Exactly. 100%. And just, but at the same point in time, we all have that one thing that connects us. And, it's just like in lacrosse. Like I've been on teams with guys, and then I'm on teams with other guys. You're not friends on the field, you're friends off the field. Except for maybe Master Blasters and GZ. But, that's a separate conversation for another time. So
it's like,
the New York
Family Feud.
Yeah, the New York smack talk is real. We love to get on each other's case.
Oh my goodness. And I love that I get to be in the middle of all of it too. And I'm like, I wasn't even here, but now I'm gonna fight someone.
I'm from Maryland, man. What the
I will say that when we got into it between the two teams, it's like Johnny Red and I are literally like about to punch each other, and we look at each other like, oh wait, we're the guys pushing each other's teams away. So it turned into like the bad video from Michael Jackson. He and I are holding each other like this and pushing everyone else away on the other side. It was hysterical. Dude,
yeah, it's so funny. And then I'm so a lot of us are pretty chill with a lot of those guys. So we'll be on the field literally pushing each other and shoving, and then we'll get off the field, take off the mask, do again. It's like, oh, you want a beer, Doug? Oh yeah, dude, what's up? Yeah, how are the rest of your games?
I mean, hell, I was the one that I got pulled in the Blasters game for overshooting. It was really funny because it's Cole and Matty Marshall are commentating it, and it's like, Julian gets pulled for overshooting, and it's just kind of like you hear of course I overshot someone. I like shooting people.
In a mechanical event somehow.
No, I mean that's how we were trained. Like shot you off the field. You turn around and say something, I'm gonna shoot you more. I just like shooting people. Like they said in the 720
name of the game, man.
I just I love shooting people. It's great to watch everyone get all butt hurt and everything like that. If you got bonus balled, it's probably by me. I guarantee it. I do it in X-Ball.
And you probably deserved it a little.
Or if not, I love to shoot you in the neck or in the head. It's gonna happen. And when it comes back to me, I don't sit there and complain because I've done it to enough people. I'm like, well, here we go. So.
Yeah, dude. So we've been helping out these young guys on Long Island. I played with them on Brotherhood. Some of them at the King of the Mounds. Okay, so we're going over rule. A lot of them was their first tournament. So I'm going over how they got to leave guns outside dead box. And I'm like, why? I'm like, because people in the dead box shoot people on the field. They're like, what? People do that? And if they let you in the dead box with your gun, shoot somebody on the field.
And I had to be the bad guy
people
at that
do
event.
I'm like 100%, dude.
I loved that event, but I hated the way that event fared out at the end, with the shenanigans. But you guys won, right? You guys won first place, yeah? No, I'm sorry.
No,
GC Red did. You guys
Red
got second. Yeah, you guys got second place. You guys played well. Red played well. It was great. But egos get the best part of everyone, including myself at times. So shenanigans happens.
Yeah, no, I wasn't really upset with what happened. I mean, there was pretty much one thing that I was upset about, in which I came into to talk to you, which was when someone in the opening was talking while he was dead. Other than that, I wasn't not yo, what the fuck? That was the only time where I was like, bro,
and everything was on the other side of the field, and I was like, I hear you. It's on the other side of the field. I'm not gonna make a call. This. If I'm like, there's 4 refs over there. I'm like, whatever happens over there. I'm like, I can't see it. I'm not going to make that call. I'm not going to be that guy. Like, you see all the memes from any of those things. It's like when you're on the Dorito side and the guy in the 50s, the ref on the 50 snake, pulls a flag. It's like, huh? Like, what just happened? Like, I had enough stuff to deal with trying to have guns to, I'm like, and you heard me. I'm like, sir, can you put your gun here? Can you put your gun here? Like,
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't like, I knew you like nothing was gonna happen, but I felt bad because you were the one standing there, and I was like, I have to tell this to somebody, and you're here, so listen to me, Julian. Okay, I'm good. Have a good day.
I remember, I think, being like, I hear you. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. It is what it is. And you're like, well, all right. Well, at least I got to say something. It's like, I'm gonna hear you. Like, I'm not gonna be a jerk.
No, you're right, because
like,
at the end of the day, what I was talking about, I wasn't going to change the outcome of the game, but it was just like, like I was like, I need to argue. I need to yell. You're here. Sorry. Okay, I'm done. Bye.
And it wasn't even yelling. It was very calm and collected.
It was my version of yelling.
Yeah. Well, I'd hate to see you actually have to really yell, because
it takes a lot to get me like super pissed.
I don't think I've ever heard him really yell.
Like, very few people really have. It takes a lot to like push me over the edge where I'm like, I mean, there are times I've been walked off the field and shot like 100 times, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. So like,
just give it back.
That's what I'm saying. I just give it back. Like you were saying before, just give it back to him next time. I don't get like pissed like that.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give it up to Top Gun for that event. They've got a great facility. They're great dudes. And, really for that field, the layout, like, it's a solid field. Like, it plays fun, everything like that. And, I can't wait to see how that field, the Mounds field for them, looks, next year, everything like that, after everything gets built up and all that jazz. So, for sure.
No, I like that field for sure. Because, like, I think I was talking to Will about this. You could tell when, like, certain fields are designed. They're not designed to win. They're designed to people to like not make it past the 50s and shoot fucking 400 pods. But like you can win on that Mounds field like multiple ways. Like
yes, agreed, 100%.
But all right, I mean, dude, we've been talking. You got anything else, Waldo? Because I know you're gonna plug all the people that have helped you get you here, and that's gonna be at least 20 minutes.
I want one crazy image story, like one throwback, maybe like a brawl or. I don't know. There was one. I mean, I've listened to all the other podcasts. I don't know if there's one that hasn't been on them. I don't know, something about a minivan, something about how
so
different credit cards, something. Give me something old.
I mean, I haven't been a part of any of the crazy shenanigans stories in that facet, but the one thing I do have when I was younger, when I like to say with all the lockout guys in the beginning, is so I think my parents went out to get food and I'm in the house with all the lockout guys, and they wanted to I must have been still in elementary school, maybe just the beginning of middle school, and all the guys were sitting in the living room. They're like, well, we want to see some videos. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, what do you guys want to watch? Like flipping through the channels. Like, nah, we want to, like, they want to see some porn videos. And I'm like, okay. So, DirecTV, you go to the, you find out where the Skinamax and Playboy is. And I'm like, all right, knew the passcode to order anything I wanted. There's the house address, so that was easy enough. And, back when they even had Cyber Sitter, my mom had her one horse's name as the, passcode. Smart. And
right.
I was like,
old
all
school
right,
passwords back in the day.
Right? You picked like what was, important. You like parents' names, animals' names. Oh, I figured out what that one was. So I order a Playboy for all the lockout guys, and it's like just starting. So the 80s, 90s bad porno music starts. My parents kind of start walking in. The dudes are all getting ready. Not in that facet, but you know what I mean. And my parents were like, oh, nope, Julian upstairs. I don't know if the video continued or what happened, but basically they were, porno for all the OG lockout guys during an event. And that was that one. It's not too dirty, but, it's spicy enough. A fun
that's
thing.
Too funny.
When I was younger, and like I said, they used to have the old school practices. I can't remember all the teams, but I remember the Ugly Ducklings were one. Image was there. Bergie and Red Greg Hastings, whatever their team name was, Secret Agents or something like that. They had an event, or they had a team, and they're doing a practice at our original paintball field. Well, this one dude slides into a bunker back in the old school woods ball days and breaks a leg, snaps a shin or something like that.
Ouch.
And everyone, rallied around him, put a bunch of, sticks down his leg as a splint, duct tape, all this stuff.
Yeah, some real
Call the
MacGyver type
ambulance.
shit.
Exactly. So it's set, we get him off the field, the ambulance pulls up, and they're like, this is amazing. Like, you guys did everything. And of course, it's back in the day when everyone wore squeegees with shoelaces. And I just remember, as they're getting ready to put him into the ambulance, they're like, save his shoelaces. We need them. And they're looking at us like, what? Let's see some of the other old school things. So I get to throw Jeezy under the bus for one thing. Back when they used to do like all the old VM68s, but whatever the gun that Jeezy used to use, these guys used to have those fat rubber bands around their hopper lids.
The Mega Z's or whatever, the Icon Z's.
Yep.
Icon Z, yeah.
So you know where this one's going. So what these guys would do, these would be around the loader lid. And like, oh yeah, they're just here to keep them shut. Well, what these guys would do is, right as they get ready to start the game, pull the rubber band off the lid and put them behind the cocking bolt.
Yeah.
So when this gun shot, it, you chronoed it 280, 290. This gun was now shooting 350. And I remember my dad was talking about, like, being behind a tree and just seeing bark fly off the tree and being like, what? And then one of the dudes on the team, don't remember which guy it was, but he left it around the gun, not leaving it behind the loader. And that's how GZ got caught. Using the rubber band trick. I mean, there's, my dad and those guys got barrels via beating the gardeners in poker games, learning the trick with the anti-siphon tanks. All the cheater stuff, unscrew your barrel about 3/4 of the way to where it's going to fall off. You get the chrono in at, 290, screw the barrel in, and boom, you're shooting 330.
People still do that one. That's not even that old. I mean, not old, but people still do that one. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no, agreed. I mean, there's tons. The
rubber band thing, I haven't seen that on anything recently, but
Yeah, well, you can't do anything anymore with all this closed bolt action and all that stuff, and I don't even think that would work with an ego nowadays. But
no, you got to have a beaver tail for the mech events, because I ran to that. I was getting my gun service from Greg, and he's like, "Are you going to use this?" And I was like, like normally I use like a shocker or 170. I don't really use the cocker in the tournament, but I was like, I don't know, I fucking might. Like, who are you to tell me what gun I could use? He's like, no, you need a beaver tail. He's like, I'll put one on. I was like, why?
Because you can thumb it.
Yeah, he was like, you don't know? I was like, no, I don't know, bro. I've been playing paintball for like 3 years. I don't fucking know. He's like, don't tell anybody this. Like, it's a huge secret. I'm like, dude, apparently after I found out everybody knows. He's like, yeah, bro. He's like, you have to have a beaver tail.
He was hooking you up too. You were like,
yeah, and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, it's like this big secret. Like, you can't tell anybody. He's like, yeah, dude, if you hold the fucking hammer down, I was like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, so you're gonna use this or not? I was like, yeah, well, give me the fucking beaver tail. I might. I don't know. I guess I need it.
Yep. Back when, even with the mags, like, you'd have to put the little cap on the back of the mag and stuff like that, and because you could crank in the back of a mag reg. Now just dating myself even more. But yeah,
I know what you're talking about now too, because I found out all these tricks now. Now I ask everyone what they know. Yeah, that's how I found out the GZ one. I asked Richie Martinez. I was like, yo, what's up? And he's like, oh yeah, we used to do that. We put the rubber band and shoot like 1,000,000 feet per second.
Yep. And the best is like the old school loader trick where they threw a quarter in the loader. And then what I used to do was I would put quarters in people's pods. Because you'd always get someone with the loader. They dump the loader out and then back to normal. But what you had to do was, slip it into a pod. Like, oh, let me see that paint. What are you shooting? You break 1 or 2 paintballs, and you're like, oh, that's sweet. And meanwhile, you didn't realize I just threw a quarter into your pod. So, and I probably snuck one into your loader at some point. But it's like you dump that, next thing you know, you go to pull the pod, and it's like, why is my gun? And just Perfect.
Nothing.
Set right over top of that feed neck, and shake it, bounce around, find its way right back in.
Too funny, man. Yeah, man. So, like, I know you're saying you had a lot of people you want to thank and kind of plug on this show. So get started, man. Who are some of the people that really helped you get to where you are? Maybe go into some of the GZ sponsors.
Yeah, totally. So obviously, I own and operate Route 40 Paintball Park in White Marsh. So got to give a shout out to those guys and myself. In terms of teams I'm currently playing with, I play X-Ball with the Immortal Kings. Got to give a shout out to Sam Telfer, helped me got on that team. We play out of upstate New Jersey with Battle Creek. Our sponsors for that team are Bunker King, Virtue, Rise, which makes fantastic jerseys and apparel as well. I'm sure there's one or two sponsors I'm leaving off that. ProShar is another one of the teams that companies that sponsors our team for that.
Dude, Sam has the most buttery smooth accent. I fucking love.
He's English. He's English. Even when he yells at you, it's nice.
It's
he yelled at me a bunch. Well, I wouldn't say yell. He wanted to talk to me a bunch about things that were going on at the event, and I was just like, I couldn't be like mad. Like, I don't know, just like the way that he talks. Like I couldn't be mad. Like I wasn't mad. Like I don't get mad too often. Well, I do get mad too often, but let's just say that I'll go with buttery smooth accent. English gentleman, tea and crumpets, whole 9 yards.
I mean, there's no wonder he pulls the tail he does. I mean, when you have that kind of voice, I wish you did, because I sound like a bird squawking half the time. But got to give a big shout out to those guys. They're great dudes. I love being a part of that team. One of my literally first X-Ball team I got to play with was the Arsenal B team. One of those guys, Justin Kim, Bill Raber. I don't play with Justin. Mine's we play with Image, but Bill, we're teammates on GZ. We just got to play last weekend at NR. They got an event here in 2 weeks on the 19th, so we got practice Saturday. Really looking forward to playing with those guys. Dizana is another one of the sponsors for that team. We've got some awesome A-team bomb jerseys, which are or pants, which are great pants in general. And then we've got awesome jerseys that are going to get to be debuted. I can't remember the company name that's making them, but they're definitely going to be highlights. And
I think I saw them. They look dope, dude. They look dope for sure.
Yeah, that white tiger stripe. Yep.
Yeah, it's
those
like
are those. And then some of the guys.
White tiger stripe. That sounds hot.
Yes, it's going to be awesome. I definitely put pictures up on my Instagram just to pull a little shameless plug on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Julian the Whale, so you can see all the stuff with that. And then some of our photographers, John Grego.
Yeah, definitely follow him. You're always posting cool shit.
I mean, I try to. There's I'm only as big as those that help support me. So that's where, like I said, all boats rise in high tides. John Grego's a fantastic photographer as well. I got to meet him. One of my teammates with the Immortal Kings is Gu Malverde Riley. Great dude. Had a lot of fun playing with him as well. And that was who introduced me to John. And then with the B team, we've got One Click Nick on Instagram. He put up a lot of the videos. You even see me at one point where I'm running down, shooting 2 guns at the same time. I needed a pod, and it was just, this is all I had. And I was like, all right, here I go. And I'm his last dude. I mean,
people
cares?
Should definitely check that video out. It's so funny that because you're like, I need a pod. He's like, I don't have a pod, but I got a gun. And you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I'm even thinking about it, I'm like, do I? And then, I don't say anything, but in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to pull this Scarface move and run down doing this. And it's great because you can hear me click both guns in and it does not sound right. The shocker shooting one way and then whatever gun I'm shooting, it's a Planet gun does not, it's just it doesn't sound the same. But still just such a funny clip. And then those guys and our paintball, John Atkins is a great dude. The one perk about being in Maryland, it's a close-knit community, especially with the field owners. And we're all in our own markets, so we're not taking business away from one another, and just we work together. So when I go out to either of those fields, whether it's Rick Harkman at PAP out in Tawny Town, let those guys know I'm coming out. They always take care of me, whether it's Rick or John, any of those guys. They're great dudes. And so One Click Nick, PV Scout Photography is another gentleman that takes great pics and videos. He had a lot of stuff that actually got promoted. One of my personal sponsors is Top Rank Innovations, which is Pepe Escutia. Used to be with Bob's Ironmen, the Cap Lanch team when they were out, and then Oakland Assassins. He makes great products. When I'm not wearing my BK gear, I'm wearing my Top Rank gear. They've got their Sprinter pants, which are lightweight and durable, and the packs are great. They feel like the old school Extreme Rage packs. So it's just butter on your back. Mm-hmm. And then obviously we've got Push with Brian Benini and Chris Lasoya. Uncle Chris, he's the man. I get to call him that because we've got our own little personal stories together. And then let's see, obviously I give a shout out to Will because Will Rocks has just been, not only really just more so he's a great friend. He's helped me grow in these last couple years, and I'm just very fortunate to be able to call him a friend and be able to call him really day or night anytime, and always shoots me straight, which is the one thing I do love about Will, because not many people do that in today's day and age. Let's see who else we got to be thankful for. Boom, bam, boom. All the Image guys, because they have to deal with me and my shenanigans. So Earl, Mikey, Brian.
I like Earl. Earl's the only one that I know we've talked, because he shoots the shit at me at Waldo's events all the time when he play under Image. So Earl's the only one that I've kind of spoken to a few times.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that definitely does. He speaks a lot for the guys because he's just kind of there in the forefront. But all those guys are quiet, silent, humble killers. And when they do speak and when they do say stuff, it's one of that phrase like you may not. They may not speak often, but when they do, people listen. Whereas
they do, they're speaking on the field. Trust me, I know. I don't know the kid's name. There's one dude has a yellow autococker would clap the shit of us on the snake side all the time.
It's either Derek or Steve. The yellow AK Merlin gun, that mustard yellow dust gun. That's Steve.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. You're right though, dude. He did a lot of, and all my WTSs, dude. He was the one that was like, you would see him him on the snake, man. I mean, all the snake side dudes were always killers, but that dude, like you said, you remember that gun because that gun clapped you up a lot. That gun's got a lot of confirmed kills. Like if they put little notches on that gun, it'd be all notched up because that
it'd be all filled. Agreed. Agreed. So yeah, let's see. I think I hit all, and obviously, so I hit Push, BK, Top Rank. I got to give a shout out to Bergie because I've been with Bergie forever in a day. He's amazing. All the guys from GI, Opie's the man. Grew up with him as well. My Uncle Rich, my dad, my Uncle Greg. I mean, I get to have, a family of, champs, which is amazing. I'm sure there's obviously going to always be people I forget. I have this old picture back when Tom Cole was still doing the whole Brass Eagle thing, back when MAO was a thing, when it was just truly the Pittsburgh Amateur Open, and he signs one of the pictures where it's like the high school posing with something, and it's still hanging around somewhere, and it was whenever you're gonna come play for Bad Company, let us know. So it's sitting there somewhere for sure. Is there anyone else I'm forgetting? I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. Oh, James Graley at Adrenaline Paintball. Those guys make great guns. I actually have two of them sitting right here. This is one I got off of one of the raffles just because it's right here nearby. And actually with the light, it makes it look purple, but there's no purple.
It's the brown, right?
It's the patina one, yeah. So it's the blue with that bronze. Yeah, I know, right? It's almost like, ooh, I didn't even know it was going to look like that. But I got that gun. I got my black one, which a lot of the guys try to get off of me, but that one's going to be it's staying with me for sure. I mean, these are hot rod guns. To speak of that too, Simon, he's the man. Inception Designs. I love those barrels. They're amazing.
Me too.
He was kind enough to hook me up with these 2 gold tips, which are right here. Oh, Powerhouse regs. Great regs as well. But these tips came off of their original Tequila Sunrise design, but they changed it in which it was like yellow to red. So I think the tips on the Tequila Sunrise gun for them went from then red, yellow, red. So we had those 2 sitting around. And the one cool thing, just to kind of plug Inception barrels, the one thing that's awesome about those, and I didn't realize this until talking about them, so now I get to say, and I'm just not flabbing my lips, the back bores are called the control bores for them. And just like all the other guns where you'll have all the different bore sizes, with the Inception Stella barrel kits, you're getting 2 different tips. You get a 689, and I believe the next one up is like a 692. So with a lot of these other barrel kits, that tip is a larger bore. So you may have that true ball in the beginning, but then at the end of the barrel, it's going to be a lot larger. Right. So these tips are actually more honed to work with that tip, with the control bore. So when you go over a 689, you're supposed to switch to the other tip. So that way it gives you a truer shot and everything like that. And that was only something that I got to learn after being a sponsored athlete by those guys and everything like that as well. So I've really been stoked on that with the BK control loaders. Truly, the ramps make a difference, and those N charge batteries that they come with, the speed with the N charge battery pack compared to even your top of the line AA's, night and day difference, even from the sound. So those are 2 great things, and obviously those go in Spires and everything like that as well. I help Pepe with the top rank gear, so I love the pants, whether it was from my original like denim Tigers, which you'll always see me running around in, but now promoting the sprinter style pants, lightweight, super durable in these. And then got to give a shout out to Steve Casano and all the guys over at Cousins. Just
fucking
great
Steve
support
is my dude.
staff.
I fucking love Steve.
Exactly. I mean, it's just awesome, and when we first got sponsored by Push, I wanted to get the white, infamous style goggles. And, I got to be like one of the only guys on GZ to get like the white ones, because that was like one of the last few pairs. And I was so stoked because I hit him up way beforehand. And when the whole chat went out, it was like, I want the one. He goes, Steve's like, nope, he got the last pair. And I was like, I'm so happy for being a gear whore. But I just love the gear. And perks that too. John Dresser from PB Nation. I've exchanged a few jerseys with him so far, and grew up being a Dynasty fan. Ironically enough, I got one of the back players I grew up watching and idolizing was SK, and I actually have a SK bubble jersey, which was one of the I've got a few that are hiding with me that are great. And to that same extent, I was able actually to exchange jerseys with Sam Telfer, and he gave me one of his first Rusher jerseys, and I gave him one of my first Image jerseys. And I've never given a jersey away, and he was one of the first people that like wanted one of my jerseys. And we did a practice, and he was like wearing it, and thank you. And it was very humbling, because as much as I like to talk myself up at times, like, you got to be humble with this game, because you will get humbled by someone always. And watching him like wear my jersey and be stoked for it, it was something different. It's a different view at that point in time. I mean, I really think I'm sure I'm missing out on people, but
we'll have to get you on again then, dude. If you know what I mean, you'll be able to plug some other people. I'm sure you hit the majority of it, dude. You have 3 teams worth of sponsors, and I know the GZ one's like a NASCAR jersey, so I'm sure there's. I mean, Travis, do you know of any he's missing, dude? Come on, you're on the same team.
Yeah, I mean,
OXCC, those guys,
all the fields,
Yep. Between Route 40, OXCC,
Yankee, Eugene's.
Yep, Eugene with Yankee.
I should have brought the jersey in here. I should have just looked at it.
I talked about B team. I mean, I could run out real quick and go grab the jersey, but we know it. I mean, those are our guys that have been taking care of us. They've been with us from the beginning. Obviously, thank you guys to you for having me on this podcast as well. Also, have to give a shout out to Brad Garrett and the Blast Camp guys. I'll be with them soon enough. They're a great up and coming team here out of the Midwest, and just really look forward to continuing to play paintball. It's a great sport, and have been very fortunate to have a different place in the sport than most. And have my misgivings at times. I've learned as I've gotten older that there's a lot of people that you'll meet along the way, and they're gonna come back in some facet. And in this realm, I've certainly learned to try not to burn too many bridges, because your word is only as good as it is. And to be with you guys on this podcast, I mean, heck, we're at 90 minutes now, and it doesn't even feel like it by any means. It felt like this was just conversation between two friends, which is how it should be. And I got to give a shout out to you all with the TSXL. You let me jump onto that podcast, jump onto the commentating, and I'm listening to myself through like the semis. I'm kind of trying to figure it out, but I think for that finals game, I really felt like I was like in my own. I was trying to channel my like inner Matty Marshall, and it was a great time. And I didn't have so much like filler in between stuff, but for the play-by-play and what was going on, I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was funny.
Dude, go to the next one. I want to come do commentary for the next one. Me and you in the booth.
I mean, I will be there. I'm going to be there playing with Immortal Kings again. That's my team playing with that event. Just thankful to be a part of those guys. The jerseys are pretty sick too. So this time I'll actually have my own jersey. I was wearing number 88, and I don't remember the name on the back of the jersey, but when I'm there, because I'm the one screaming my head.
Dude, that's how I realized it. Like, I knew you were coming, and then like I forgot, and then I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't know, man. That guy looks familiar. It's like the way you hold your gun, your stance, your hold. Like, I'm like, and then like later on, I'm like, oh shit, like you were the dude, right? Okay, all right, it all makes sense. And I definitely appreciate you doing the commentary and helping me out. Give that MVP award. I know some people didn't agree with it. Some people did agree with it, but hey, if you didn't agree with it, play better and show us more on the webcast, because it was a finals MVP, dude. So, people that were out there, the people that earned it, the people that got it, man. You know what I mean? And I told you plenty of times, it's a finals MVP. It's not an all-day event thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. And, I got to give a shout out to Bob Howe there, too, for Comp Paintball as well. And John Amadea for, taking the footage that he did from Will's event as well. But, having that opportunity to sit down with Bob in the beginning, because he and I played against each other, played with each other, at different times, and just having that different spectrum and be able to pull all those things together was great. And then in a different kind of plug, in a different way, I got to give a shout out to Marcus Nielsen, Mr. Dreamy, because I follow him on a lot of the different platforms, and there's a lot of people that put out different kind of positivity things and stuff like that, but there's something that he's kind of tapping into that really is resounding to me, and just you find good people and good things and good works, and those are infectious things to stay with. So as much as there is like that, like negativity around stuff, there's a lot of positivity, and it's a lot easier to look at the negative, but it's harder to see the positive. And there's a lot of positive out there just in the sport, and just, it's fantastic. It's a great sport to be a part of, or as I'd like to say, it's a hobby, because, when this whole COVID shenanigans happened, I was able to open up early, because I'm not a sporting facility. I'm a hobby park. So, my hobby was allowed to facilitate other people in their hobbies. So that was one of the big things to help us get through everything, for sure.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. But again, dude, I just want to thank you again for coming on. This is going to be one of many for sure. Like, so yeah, listeners get used to
Awesome.
Julian coming around because, dude, I love talking with you. And I know you're going to have to give us updates for Chicago. I know it's coming up in a couple weeks. So I definitely want to have you back and we could talk about how you guys won Chicago and how you're the best fucking woods ball team, you know, in the country and all that kind of good jazz.
I'm hoping it. I'm going to be excited. My dad's going to be there with us for the event. That was a little gift I got to be able to give to him. So we're flying out on Friday. We're going to be at the fields from whenever we get there until the cows come home. So we'll see what's going to happen that event. We've got a good squad coming up there. We've got some names coming out there with us too. So I'm not going to drop any names right now, but we are going to have a very sick squad. So we have some expectations for us for sure.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, because unfortunately for our squad, we just decided literally a couple of days ago that we are not going to go because
Really?
Unfortunately, we're not going to go because we just can't really feel the team of enough of our core guys. I mean, I'm not going to throw some people on the bus, but I know.
No, I completely understand how it goes.
We had at least 5 to 6 guys that were not going to be able to make it. We were only looking at bringing 4 guys that came back from the first one. So Steve literally called me on the phone and was like, I just think it'd be better if we just didn't do it, man. He's like, I don't think it's worth the money for us to go out there and play with people that we don't know. Because he told me the list of people that weren't going to make it. I know one of them was my brother, because my brother's job flat out said that if you go to this, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks when you come home. My brother was like, I can't do that. I just flat out can't.
Yep.
And I know some other people's jobs said the same thing. So Steve was just like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. And I understood where he's coming from. I mean, dude, it's a crazy time. And I'd rather play like, I think one of the reasons we've been doing so well is because we have people like Rosie and Mooner coming to help kind of fill that back end spot. Because I feel like a lot of this, when my team was struggling, it was because we had no one alive at the end. All this crazy stuff would happen. My brother and I would run down the field, shoot a bunch of guys, but no one's alive on either team.
Yeah,
I need that dude that's like, oh, cool, I'm alive. All right, cool. I just want to go, you know, you might be 96, but I'm going to go get the flag and carry you back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yes, unfortunately, we just decided we're not going to go and just said, I'll save my money and then we'll just hit it harder again next year, man.
Yeah. I mean, you guys did so well the first event. So I didn't know you guys were making this event. So, I mean, truly that threw me for a loop when you just said it there. On that same note, I have to definitely give thanks to my wife, Megan, because she's been so supportive of me throughout this entire endeavor. And, you know, when she met me, it was, I played pro lacrosse and I wasn't playing pro paintball at that point in time, but it's kind of like, what do you do? Like, I don't live a normal life. Like I run a paintball field. I used to get paid to punch people in the face and shoot people with a gun. Like this was my life. Like I've enjoyed every minute of it. And, you know, I've been around the world and back, you know, doing both. And, you know, I only hope to continue to do all of those at the same time. Yeah,
and I know you will. I know you will. And hopefully I'm around for that ride, man. Like, I love being a part of this team. And I've met you. Like I said, we were just hanging out. It's been an hour and 40 minutes of us just kind of chilling and hanging out. Like, fucking cool
Agreed.
Is that.
Right.
But with that being said, we've been doing this for long. We won't cheer you ear off anymore. I'll just have to have Julian back and we'll do it for another 2 hours. So thank you guys again to everyone for joining us. Remember to go to xanasports.com and use the code overshot for 10% off. Volcano USA, the code is overshot10 for 10% off. And everyone take it easy and we'll see you guys on the next episode.